Glenwood, and then down at Beebe, and graduated Malden High in 1965. Then she was a member of the first class of the UMass Boston, to graduate in 1969, I believe. Majoring in German, and then went on to teach after a time when she still participated in some of her state jobs. Decided that teaching, I think, I'd like to work that in somehow. So she
32 years.
How many years?
32.
32 years, yes. Going from German to Spanish to French, and eventually back to English. Her interest in Nordie happened along the way, and I'm going to let her tell that story because there's so many details that I don't know that much about. So, here she is. I'm going to try my teacher voice so I don't have to hold this all night.
But let me know if you can't hear me. And in the interest of time, because I have to fit 91 years of Nordie's life into a short period of time here, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading from my script and also from the Malden High yearbooks back in 48 through 50, which is the years that she was in high school. But first of all, I have 7 questions for everybody. How many of us have our name in a United States Senate resolution? All right, let's try this one. How many of us have been invited to work for the CIA? No joke, no? How many of us have ever met a professional golfer and been invited to a tournament? Well, I've met a few, but I was already at the tournament. How many of us have earned a school letter? Here's mine. Oh, that B is mine. That wasn't Nordie's. Nordie has. Oh, how many again? Okay. How many have earned 2 school letters? How many have earned 3? One more question. How many have earned 9?
Wow.
7 Malden High and 2 BB. How many of us have been named in headlines of newspaper articles? Mayor, I bet. 1 or 2. How many of us have our own professional baseball card? Not yet. How many of us are named in 2 halls of fame? Well, the person that can answer yes to all of these grew up here in Malden. Helen Nordie Nordquist. And my topic tonight is the 7 ages of a remarkable Renaissance woman. And those words will be explained as I go through the presentation. Helen Nordie Nordquist just turned 91 March 23rd and moved into assisted living shortly thereafter. Up until then, she lived by herself in a 6-room house in Alton, New Hampshire. She's now in Franklin, New Hampshire. But she had a house full of items and has donated her Malden memorabilia to the Malden Historical Society. That's why we're here tonight, one of the reasons. A child of Swedish immigrants, she was brought up in the First Baptist Church next door, where she received a Bible for perfect attendance. I think I did too. She was taught to cook, sew, and repair things at home. But one thing that came naturally to her was baseball, both hitting and fielding. Growing up on Upper Tremont Street with Waits Mount in her backyard, the neighboring boys and 7-year-old Helen played tag football, street baseball, and parents reported, because they were watching this, that Helen played the best, better than the boys. After attending Pierce School, Holmes is now there. In 1944, Helen entered Beebe Junior High. Who else went to Beebe? Her natural athletic talent was obvious, as she was the only girl who could climb the rope to the top. I don't think they even offered it to us 15 years later to try to do that. I know I couldn't have. Yeah, really. Upon graduation at age 14, Nordie was awarded a certificate and a BBB for excellence in athletics, the first time ever awarded to a junior high girl at BB. And I'm thinking in the whole city, but I couldn't verify that. Her certificate, signed by Esther Beckwith, who preceded Jean Fabian, I guess. I had Miss Fabian. Anybody else there have Miss Fabian? Okay. We'll talk about her later. And Winthrop Webb, the Webb name, Kempton Webb, graduated with our cousin in 1949, I believe. Anyway. The next stop was Malden High School from 47 to 1950, and it was there that Nordie got her nickname Nordie. Coach Gardner, who also 15 years later was my softball coach, she didn't give me a nickname though. I guess I wasn't good enough, but I know I wasn't. So she gave the nickname Nordie, and Nordie loves being called Nordie. She is to this day. She was through her career always referred to as Nordie. The field hockey team back in 1948 includes two previous, actually a total of three best girl athletes from the 3 years. On the left in the front is a family friend of ours, Elvira Husti, who was the class of 48 best girl athlete. Standing next to her in front is our cousin by marriage, Peggy Scott Voigt, who was the best girl athlete in 1949. And in far right on the second row is Nordie as a sophomore on the field hockey team. I head to 1950. Nordie was co-captain, and there they are with Coach Gardner, who looks happy because it was a winning team. And Nordie in action. These were in the yearbook, so she was very good at what she did. She got her picture in a lot of publications. Also on the basketball team for 3 years. That's where all these letters came from. The team in 1948. The co-captains in 1950, Helen Nordquist and Doris Stewart. Does anyone know Doris Stewart? She's still in Malden? I don't know. Probably be 91 also. And then the team in 1950 with Coach Martell in the middle, and the co-captains on either side. Nordie's on the to our right. Now, softball was also probably her favorite team, but because it was a spring sport, there were no pictures in the yearbooks. In the spring supplements there were, but Nordie didn't forward them to me. When I get the rest of her memorabilia this spring, I expect to get the spring supplements, which might have her picture in it for that, for softball. Okay, now this was her graduating picture, and I must read that the caption says, and I think I have a picture of it somewhere, but there are things posted over there that are going to be duplicated here. It says in the blurb, but plus it says Fremont Street, not Tremont Street, so there's a little typo there. It says, Helen is our all-American girl. Well, that was a prophecy of a year or so later when she became an All-American Girls Professional Baseball League player. And there's a yearbook inscription by a classmate, which is also a prophecy. Florida grows oranges, California grows them too, but it takes Massachusetts to grow a peach like you. And she was a Rockford peach. Now, she was the most athletic, class of 1950, along with Arnold Sackmary. Anyone know Arnold? He She's still around? Anyway. Okay, and this was her bedroom in Malden. And I must say, we visited her in 2019, I think it was, and her bedroom in Alton, New Hampshire looked almost like this, a little modernized, but she still had those letters posted. She had framed them all, of course. And the senior class awards included, you won't be able to read it from there, but the Kappa Phi sorority awarded the gold cup at graduation. And there she is, back in a few years, holding her gold cup, which is nicely polished. I don't think it's solid gold, but nicely polished, and she's probably 88 there. Oh, now Virginia Gardner signed her yearbook to one of the best and finest athletes I've known. Best of luck, Virginia Gardner. Now, I'm sure there might have been a girl athlete or two since then, but that probably was her first to experience someone as wonderful as Nordie playing. I just want to read something from the class prophecy. I know, I have it here. The class, here it is, sorry. The class prophecy, as you all know, your class probably had one with everyone's name in it, doing something years later. So this said, we drop to the sports section. There we see Helen Nordquist, the greatest woman athlete since Babe Didrikson, is autographing softballs for her admiring fans. Now keep that name, Babe Didrikson, in mind. I'll tell you why later. Okay. A year after she graduated, possibly within the year, she saw an article in the Boston paper that advertised tryouts for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which had been around since 1943. It was established by Philip Wrigley of the Wrigley Gum to keep baseball alive while men were at war. There are rules that the women had to live by, though. I have a copy of them over there for when you get a chance to read them. And the example of a penalty for breaking any of the rules. They were sent a nice letter. This is not Nordie's. Nordie sent me a copy of someone. Actually, Vivian Kellogg got this. Dear Vivian, for your part in the fisticuffs at Fort Wayne during your last series there, you are hereby fined $10 to be paid to this office not later than Friday, July 6th. Very truly yours, All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, Max Carey, President. I think I have his baseball card over there too. But anyway, interesting. By the way, I have some Red Sox trivia too regarding the AAGPBL. We all know Bill Lee, Red Sox pitcher. Well, here he is with another baseball player, but his aunt, Annabelle, played from 1944 with the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And I had her card here. I have her, they all had baseball cards. Here she is, I put it over there. And it does say that she was a pitcher. She once pitched a perfect game on July 29th, 1944. She played for several teams. Okay, baseball trivia, Red Sox trivia. After graduation, she and her mother took a Greyhound bus to Alexandria, Virginia, and noticed that it was awfully competitive baseball, hardball with overhand pitching and regulation baseball rules. And after several days hitting and fielding, she was chosen by Johnny Gottselig for his team, the Kenosha Comets. And that's their patch that they wore. Playing outfield at the end of the season, she had appeared in a career-high 82 games, and, because they played 7 days a week, and a doubleheader on Sundays. So that's a full roster. And her baseball card reads, rookie, now this is in 1951, rookie with most assists, as she led all outfielders in assists that year. She played outfield, so she had a good arm. Here she is in her Kenosha uniform. Okay, their Kenosha Comets and the girls usually use a V for victory sign, as they did. Then Nordie is, where did we say she was? She's in there somewhere, back row, I think. That's the Kenosha team, but they were only in Kenosha for a short time, and they moved to Dubuque, Iowa. There she is running bases in the Telegraph Herald. I don't know what count it's from, I can't read it from here. And then they often had a rain day, so here they are doing what they do on a rain day, writing letters. She's the second one from the left in the rear. And the woman in the, I'm thinking that's the chaperone with them, but we'll see more of chaperones later. Okay, Kenosha then went to the Rockford Peaches. You've seen that in the movie. But since 1943, they had a phenomenal catcher named Jackie Green, not Dottie Hinson. If you've seen the movie, the phenomenal catcher in that movie was modeled after Jackie Green, who after an injury became a chaperone for the team, and that is she in the center front as a chaperone. Nordie was a Rockford Peach for 2 seasons, playing in playoffs both years. Then 1954 found Nordie with the South Bend, Indiana Blue Sox, now wearing number 14. And there's something about number 14 that 60 or so years later comes into play. Okay, Orchard Ridge, Fort Wayne, Indiana in 1954. At an Indiana hotel for a doubleheader, Babe met the greatest woman athlete at that time. Babe meets Nordie. Nordie was staying at the same hotel in Fort Wayne, and there was the girls were sitting in the lobby, the baseball girls, and waiting for the doubleheader to start. And in walked Babe and Betty Dodd, another golfer, and the girls were too nervous to go speak to Babe, but Babe came over to them as baseball players, and she invited them to go to the tournament with them. She offered to drive them, but they had a doubleheader, so they had to be back. So Nordie, they took their own car, and this Babe on the, what do you call it? I played golf too, but anyway, I'm trying to hurry. But Nordie took those pictures. And then, now, okay, jumping ahead from 1954 to 2018, that's 64 years, Nordie found out that number 14 at South Bend had been worn for 9 seasons by Blue Sox pitcher Gene Fout, who, by the way, had 2 perfect games in her 9 years playing. She left baseball as the best pitcher for the entire league's history. Because Nordie is who she is, when she found out that that had been Gene's uniform for all but the last year of the league, She took the uniform to the 2018 reunion in St. Louis and presented it to an appreciative Jean. And it's now on display at Jean Foat's museum with her AAGPBL memorabilia. And that is Nordie's baseball card. And she chose the Rockford emblem, of course, to wear. I would have too. Okay, now, because the AAGPBL season ended in the fall, as most baseball seasons do, Philip Wrigley instituted a winter league, which players in the South and in Cuba even, and South America played, and was called the International Girls Baseball League. Nordie didn't get a chance to go play in Cuba, but she did play in Florida. There's her contract. I think it's the only contract that the league has because she saved everything, as you can see. Okay, there's her Miami Bells team. And Nordie in front of the palm tree, so you know she's somewhere somewhere. Okay. Now back in, when the league ended in 1954, because TV was coming in to everybody's home to watch the men play, and Wrigley disbanded the team because he kept baseball alive for the 9 years or so. So Nordie came home and was searching for a job. She told me she wrapped meat at the First National Store in Malden, worked a drill press at the Stedman Tool Company. Does anyone remember the Stedman Tool Company? I've never heard of it. And she was a telephone operator for New England Tel, as well as for several other companies. It was not long before Nordie found various sports to play, sometimes coaching or playing with the teams for her companies. And that's that's the Dewey and Almy Chemical Company in Cambridge newsletter. And, oh, wait a minute, something's happening. No, but let me mention some of the other companies. Some of them may still be around. Photon was in Wilmington. She was a cost accounting clerk there. It was a photo typesetting and computer company. She worked for iTech, cost accounting clerk, and she coached its slow pitch softball team. She moved to New Hampshire in 1983. Her uncle had a farm up there that she used to help bale hay without machinery. And she worked at a lawn and garden company doing tune-ups on mowers and snow blowers. Yeah, I wish I could. And then from 1983 till 1994, she worked for the state of New Hampshire as a toll collector on I-95. Some of us maybe handed her money over the years. Okay, it was in 1959 that Coach Gardner, still in touch with Nordie, told her of a new team in Malden, which had formerly been in East Boston. It was part of the Tri-State Softball League. And it, along with teams from Quincy and Lynn, would play against each other and also against teams from New Hampshire and Connecticut. And Nordie tried out for the team. Which was it? Okay. Yeah, Nordie tried out for the team, the Malden Collegiates. This was her uniform. The slacks are over there, but the dress form didn't have plate. And let me turn it around. It was sponsored by the Middlesex Fuel Oil Company, which was in Maplewood Square, I understand. And, over here I have, I found an ad for the Middlesex Furnace Company. So you can take a look at that. And its owner was Bill Robinson, who eventually became a very popular congressman from Melrose. Yeah. The Collegiates had a mascot who happened to be Nordie's nephew, Ron, who graduated in 1975 from Malden High. But when he was 2, this fit him. And she made this. We said she could sew, and she did make this uniform, which is identical to the girls' uniform. I think we might see a picture of him in it. Okay. Now, one of the special plays that Nordie helped on for the team was the triple play that previous article said she played shortstop. Let me see. Okay, highlight of the evening was a triple play engineered by Helen Nordquist, who caught a line drive, you'll see it in the next film, stepped on second base, and threw to first for the 3rd out. So, triple play, that was easy. So there's the ball on the right side. She'll catch it so that the runner leaving second will be out. The one coming from first then will be out and throw to first. Been a while since I watched. Oh, yeah. If you run. What I don't think oh, go to his research, okay. Oh, by the way, after 1959, when the Collegiates disbanded, Nordie played for the Quincy Raiderettes, and she did travel to different states with that team. Okay. Maybe it was because she worked for computer companies when she had some jobs, but she got into the computer at a late age. I still haven't got into all aspects of the computer. I used to have my high school students help me with doing things on the computer, which was hooked to the TV, but they helped. Anyway, she did so much research for the league that, especially on the International Girls Baseball League, because people didn't, I guess, report about it, that she is noted along with William McMahon and Mary Fiddler as a researcher and composer of this article. Touching Bases is the newsletter for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, and in one of their editions, editors note, we send well-deserved kudos to Nordie, who has devoted many hours searching AAGPBL news clippings, articles, yearbooks, programs, etc., in a dedicated effort to assist in the AAGPBL website staff in identifying the many AAGPBL players, teams, coaches, chaperones, game officials, administrative staff, and ball girls and boys for the AAGPBL, the website archives. So her computer is filled with information, and that other person mentioned as one of the writers of that article, Mary Fiddler, asked Nordie to give her her computer in her will someday, and she's going to do it because that's so much information. Now, because of her service to the AAGPBL, she was awarded the Jude Peppers Award. Peppers, I think, was the first one to start them having reunions back in maybe late 90s. Anyway. There are some important years that kind of didn't fit in chronologically, but I'll just talk about them now. In 1988, the Baseball Hall of Fame at Cooperstown recognized, though they did not induct, A lot of people thought they did, but they weren't. They recognized the AAGPBL, listing all the players' names and dates on a plaque. So at the reunion in Syracuse, Marilyn and I went and met Nordie there, and Nordie's pointing to her name and the dates for being in the league from 51 to 54. I have a close-up over there. Okay, and that's in 2019. That is I and back of Nordie, and that's the entrance to the Diamond Greens display of the AAGPBL. And by the way, the picture, I think did Nordie just tell us that a couple of weeks ago, that those were the first 4 signers to join the AAGPBL back in 1943. Okay, in 1988, when they were inducted in, I said inducted, it wasn't, when they were invited to the Hall of Fame, the ladies went, and this is Nordie in 1988. And just so happens that there are 3 uniforms in there, the blue one in back, the peaches in front, and the Kenosha. Those were her 3 uniforms that she played in, so those were examples of them. Those weren't hers. They had to give in the uniforms every year, so they didn't know when the league was closing. And as I told you, the United States Senate bill to honor the 75th anniversary, this was in 2018. Elizabeth Warren honored the league with this and specifically named all Massachusetts players in that highlighted paragraph there. And I think I have a copy of it over there. Okay, now Nordie returns the uniform to Gene Faut in 2018, and I think it was St. Louis, number 14. Okay, in 2019, 69 years after graduating from Malden High School, Nordie was inducted into the Golden Tornado Club Hall of Fame. Was anyone else there besides the mayor and I? Marilyn? Okay. And some famous people that she's been photographed with: Penny Marshall, Marla Hooch, if you saw the movie. Megan Kavanaugh is her real name. To Nordie, thank you for your presence in the league. This was in 2016, I think. Dennis Eckersley, 18 maybe. And anyone watch Curse of Oak Island? Nordie got me into it. Her nephews live in Canada, so they got her into it. That's Billy Gerhard, who was on the TV show running one of the excavators. Well, back in 1950, if she weren't named Best Athlete of 1950, she might have gotten class clown. If you know Nordie, she has quite a sense of humor. So she went to a Red Sox game, that's at Fenway, and she said she was going to take her glove, and it's a little toy glove, if you can see it. By the way, that's Donna Cohen with her, who's an attorney for the Red Sox, who's quite a friend of Nordie's, and she was at the Hall of Fame. Nordie's friend was having a birthday party, so Nordie called and said, what can I bring? Oh, just bring yourself. She did. You have to know this woman. Oh, and at the 2019 reunion, she had her out of order sign on her left ear. She's a little hard of hearing in that ear, but. Okay, now some of the projects, or her talents actually, I should say first, was sewing. She learned to sew when she was quite young, but she made skirts for teammates. Okay, hold on. I'm neglecting my articles here that she sent me. Oh, here. Okay, in 1951, my first year in the league, this is from her scrapbook that's coming to Malden when we pick it up in the spring. A gal wanted her skirt shortened, so I shortened it for her. Now, word got around that I could do alterations on the uniforms if they needed it. The rule was that, it's on the list, no shorts or slacks are to be worn out in public at any time. The buses didn't have AC or a potty. We rode with the windows open on the hot days. We usually had our shorts under our skirts, so as soon as we got on the bus, we took off the skirt to sit cooler. She said I had taken sewing in school and already had made a few blouses and skirts. For my second year in the league, I came prepared. My first year skirt was what you call a fly front skirt. It had a fold all the way down the front, but the opening was on the left side. I removed the waistband, got a long zipper from a lumber jacket, replaced the band to have the opening in the front of the skirt instead of the side. On the bus, when the other gals were struggling to get their skirts off over their heads, I just zipped the zipper down and removed my skirt in no time at all. Needless to say, most of my teammates wanted me to make them a skirt like this. Okay. Another of her talents, sports lamps. There's one over there that I picked up, made from a hockey stick, and she gave one of those to Coach Gardner. And I know those hockey sticks are quite different from the ones they use nowadays. I don't know how they could hit a ball with that, but anyway. So, I'm gonna go back. She's got decoy lamps. She's made lamps, she's wired them herself, but the decoys were hand carved. She did the carving. In the middle front is cypress wood from Florida that she made a lamp out of. There are bowling pins and bowling balls, candle pin and 10 pin. And in the back there's, to the right, on the top is the baseball bat, and on the left is the field hockey stick. Besides building birdhouses and feeders for up in New Hampshire, she stenciled these pieces of wood and did the cutout. I don't know how, bandsaw, I guess, I don't know. But she did all that. That was in her grandfather's basement, where she also laid brick in the hearth and did other things down there. Okay. Bowling was another talent of hers. I have some pictures of her bowling over there and winning some trophies. So these are all her trophies for bowling. Whatever she could do, I called her a Renaissance woman. Whatever she did it well too. Photography, she did this triple exposure of her different uniforms for the collegiates in the middle and the Quincy Raiderettes on the sides. Now, some other projects that she worked on were done at 124 Tremont Street, right up on the hill. I have a picture of a map there with the house. There are houses built around it now, so it's not the only house up there. But the house only had a crawl space. She changed that to a full cellar by digging it out and hauling the dirt, whatever, and getting the cement in. Amazing. The town laid a water line to the street, and we're going to charge $100 to come closer to the house, so to save $100, which was a lot in those days. She and her two nephews dug trench to the house and laid the water line. She could do plumbing too, and saved herself some money. She added electricity to a garage they had from the street, and added electricity to the garage, and if I can find it here. Here it is. Okay, the house was 42 steps up from the street. It is hilly. The city had dug a water line just to the end of the property line. They dug where the city guys left off to the cellar. The city told her they'd have to get a plumber to hook up the water meter. That was cost. So Nordie hooked it up herself, and then she had planted forsythia and lilacs on the property, which probably is still there. Oh, here's the electricity. Nordie quickly added electricity to the garage, added a light with a three-way switch in the middle of the 42 steps to the road so she could snap a light on when she came home at night. She also put the Christmas lights on a couple of switches so her mother could turn on 2 switches to light the entire house, including a yellow moon and blue star at the peak. In those 42 steps up, she put in a railing for her mom so she could climb the 42 steps easier. For that, she used a 1.5-inch pipe for the rail, but it needed to be bent to fit the stone wall because of the curve. So Nordie got cinder blocks and cleverly placed the pipe on them and ran the car over the pipe to create the bend. I know they have a tool for that now, but yeah, creative. Another story, again, this was on the edge of Waits Mound. She came across 2 huge boulders that were too big to move in her backyard, so she burned them. Yes, she burned them. It so happens that at that time she was tearing down an old pigeon coop that was the garage at one time. Nordie dug a ditch around the boulders, and with a permit from the city, she used the old wood, she did things right, used the old wood from the pigeon coop and burned the huge rocks for 2 days over the weekend. Early Monday morning, Nordie got up and with the garden hose sprayed water on the 2 boulders. To this day, Nordie recalled, I can still hear the rocks cracking. It was a deep cracking noise, but it worked. Oh, electrical work. One time, a softball friend of Nordie told her parents, who had an electrical problem, that she knew an electrician who would fix it. Nordie traveled to Nashua, New Hampshire, and she had 2 cousins with her. When they got to the house, Nordie was the last one to enter. As I said, she's shy. When the nephew entered the house with his friend, the father asked, is this the electrician? Nordie's friend Sophie said, matter-of-factly, no, she is. Incredible. Okay, where are we? Oh, she did automotive work too. Okay. She had a 1956 Plymouth 4-door sedan. They tried to, it wasn't working at the time, so they tried to work it. Her brother-in-law pushed her up and down the street with his car, but it wouldn't start, so he gave up. And she popped the hood, turned the distributor cap around 90 degrees, and the car started. Now she says, I didn't know what I was doing, I was just lucky. That car also had no backup lights. No wonder it was only $100 that she said. So she got a switch from a brother-in-law who worked at Transitron. She made a bracket for it and got a dual socket, so it was taillight and directional. She soldered the 2 together and had the brightest backup lights going. She even fixed some of her boss's cars once they knew that she could do that work. Oh, in 1955, she and her mother bought a 52 Pontiac because her brother Roy didn't want them borrowing his car so much. She was 23 years old. They had outdoor movies in those days, and she needed screens to keep the mosquitoes out. So she built some screens, she still has them, and for the heat, and it was fun to hear the wind whistling through them as they drove along without air conditioning. Okay, well, we'll go on, I guess. Okay. In closing, Nordie continues to do research for the league at her assisted living place. She has her computer right there. And some lessons learned from Nordie and the multifaceted abilities and interests in her life. That a 19-year-old taking a risk to meet a goal leads to satisfaction of fulfilling one's life's dream. And that one can accomplish many things, though they may be untraditional in one sphere, such as at an advanced age learning to use the computer for previously unexamined research in a field, or mechanical, automotive, electrical, knowledge and application, creative woodworking, to name a few of her accomplishments. And I would like to have the mayor show his AAGPBL baseball that he got from Nordie. And then maybe make an announcement about Nordie's future.
There it is, everyone.
Yeah.
So as you know, we receive a lot of items in the mayor's office, but this one is on the mayor's office desk. Because we have been so impressed in getting to know her and the story being told. And so I'm very happy to let you know this evening that we may have to have one more event in 2023 or maybe 2024, depending on the schedule, but it is our intent to dedicate the softball field at Roosevelt Park in Helen's name.
Wow. Critically displayed, so
We're in the midst of a multi-million-dollar renovation of that park, as you probably have heard. And included in that is a complete upgrade of the current softball field. So again, we're working with the city council on the funding of it, but I'm confident we're going to get there, and I'm confident we're going to invite you all to participate in that very special ceremony.
now I brought some of Nordie's baseball cards to share with you if you would like them. And
A question.
oh yeah.
What about the CIA?
Oh. Well, I must say it was a form letter, but it was written in 1954, October 54, so after the league ended, they maybe got her name from the league. Dear Ms. Nordquist, your name has been referred to us as a person who may be qualified for a position with the Central Intelligence Agency. It is a function of this agency to coordinate in the interest of national security the foreign intelligence activities of the United States government. Maybe they thought she spoke Swedish. She didn't. Anyway, so the letter will be over there, signed by George Malden, Deputy Assistant Director for Personnel. No. She wouldn't have been as famous as she became if she had, I think. So, what I'll do is, I'll leave some over here. Yeah. And I'll leave some over here for, what can I put this on? And, before I do that, I also brought with me some applications for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League Associate Membership. So there are a few over there. I'm going to be sending mine in soon. They need people nowadays. Nordie's 91, and she, played in 51 to 54. And Mary Pratt, who was with the Quincy Raiderettes, and also played for the Rockwood Peaches. She passed away last year at 101, so they're losing their membership. So it's up to us to keep the league going and keep the memory of these women and their teams known to future generations. And if you would like to let Nordie know how you liked hearing about her life, I have her addresses somewhere here. I let it over here. But if you, want her address? Well, I know what it is, so I can give it to you anyway. But thank you all for coming. I know Nordie, she's going to say